And we're good. So hello, my name is Amanda, and my team members are Edith, Samantha, and Mandy. Together, our team name is the Fantastic Four. Our team has created an intervention to solve the issue of lice in refugee camps found in Kenya. A quick background of what lice is and how it affects individuals is there are a parasitic insects that live on clothing and bedding used by infested persons. They lay eggs on clothing and move to a person's skin when they feed on blood. Infestation can spread rapidly under crowded living conditions where hygiene is poor, such as refugee camps. Symptoms of body lice can include severe itching, rash. If exposed long enough, the skin can even become thick and discolored, and this can spread typhus, trench fever, and louse-borne relapsing fever. Now, in the past, louse-borne relapsing fever has not been concern as it's mostly been eradicated. However, louse-borne relapsing fever it's transmitted through body lice and is it's been recently an emerged infection, which should be suspected in any patient with fever and with a recent history of migration from an endemic area. So refugee camps have shown that this has been reoccurring in some cases, so especially in the Horn of Africa. So louse-borne relapsing fever is rare, but it's emerging infectious disease among vulnerable displaced immigrants from the Horn of Africa. Since immigrants from these areas can carry the vector with them, the infection should be suspected among this kind of a group. The refugee camps we will be focusing on are the camps in Dadaab, which is a town in Garissa County, Kenya. It is a site of the UNHCR base hosting over 256,000 refugees in 5 camps to a census in January 2017. So it's making it one of the largest complexes in the world. So Mandy's going to go ahead and talk to us about our intervention and what we want to do about this.
Okay, so since we're dealing with clothing lice or body lice, one of the biggest things that we can do to prevent the spread of these diseases that are now emerging from it is to have clean clothes and clean people and clean bedding. And so we've decided to try to focus on clean clothes and clean bedding. And in refugee camps, it's really difficult to get access to washing machines or to wash your clothes. And in fact, it's actually usually not a priority. More priority would be eating and getting water. But we're trying to implement a system that's easy to use and accessible for all the families. So in researching this, I found this really low cost and efficient washing machine that you can actually make. So I'm going to go over some of the components of it right now. So the things that you need to make the washing machine are, you can see this is a 5-gallon bucket they usually use to put foods in. We have one of those, and we actually are going to use 2. So 2 5-gallon buckets. And then the third thing you need is a lid. You only need 1 lid. So a lid that fits tightly onto a 5-gallon bucket. And you also need a plunger. And this is a sink plunger. And toilet plungers have like an extension on it that goes into the bottom of the toilet bowl, and a sink plunger is just flat. So you need a sink plunger and laundry detergent. And in choosing a laundry detergent, this washing machine, when you're cleaning the clothes, the water from the washing machine gets spread all over the ground or wherever you're using it. And so it'd be important to have some kind of detergent that is organic or biodegradable so that it doesn't get contaminated in any drinking water that could be in the area. So first of all, what we do, you also would need access to a drill. So we have drilled holes into one of the 5-gallon buckets. And I don't know if you can see, but there are these little holes drilled into all around the entire surface of one of the buckets. And the exact same size of hole is drilled into this the sink plunger. And then we need one more thing that we need to drill is the lid. It has one big hole so that the handle of the plunger can slip right onto it. So what you do is you grab the first bucket that has no holes in it, set it down, and grab your second bucket that has the holes in it, and you slip it right inside. So it's important that these two buckets are the exact same size so they slip right in and out of one another. Then you put in your clothes, and I have just a beach towel. You put in your clothes, and then you fill it up with water and your laundry detergent. And something about the water is it needs to be hot, and this is a kettle to represent that, because clothing lice will die and with the heat of 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's important that the water is hot, and we understand that you won't always have access to hot water, and maybe the priority with your hot water won't be your clothes, but if at all possible, get the water as hot as you can. So we have our clothes, laundry detergent, and water. Then you stick this lid on top of the washer. I'm gonna pull it back here so you can see a little bit better. Oh, actually, you put the plunger in first, then stick the lid on. And then you go up and down, and you agitate the clothes for about 10 minutes. So what this is doing is the water's going in and out of the holes in the plunger, and it's going in and out of the holes in the washing machine. And then once you're done, you take this inside bucket and you slip it out of the outside one, and all the water will strain out of the holes that we've drilled into it. And to further get your clothes even more dry, you take this outside bucket and then you can slip it right inside of the inside bucket, and your clothes are stuck underneath here, and then you can sit on it and squish all the water out through these holes. And then I've even seen people to get their clothes even more dry, taking this bucket that has the clothes in it with the holes, tying it to a tree, and then spinning it. So your clothes literally get a spin cycle. And then after you're done washing them, you just lay them out to dry. And the more heat that the clothing and the bedding is exposed to, the better, to kill all the lice. And so that's our intervention. And now we're gonna hear from Samantha, and she's going to talk about some of the barriers that we've faced.
Okay, so we have two barriers that we have discussed, and we also have ways to overcome those barriers. So the first one will most likely be that we run into a language barrier. Since we are implementing our program in another country, you don't always know whether the people there know English or not, and whether they will understand you through everything that you're trying to explain to them. So one of the ways that we hope to overcome this is to have an community health worker there with us who can speak both languages fluently. So when we explain to them what we want to do, they can actually understand it and tell the rest of the community what it is that we're trying to implement. If for any reason we don't have this available for us, we have come up with visual aids. And this can be anything from a flip book or a poster that has pictures on it that tells the person each and every step that they need to take, which Mandy did explain. So this would be the best way to do this as well, because with the pictures, it shows them what they have to do and what parts come after the next, and there doesn't really need to be someone there to explain it to them because it is self-explanatory. So the second barrier that we also have is to know how many washers can be distributed. So we have decided that the washers are going to be distributed between 4 to 5 families, which they will be sharing a washer unit. So the families that have 7 members or more will be sharing with 3 other families, so it'll be 4 in total. And those who have 6 or less will be sharing with more, which will be 4 families, which will be 5 in total. And this is just, you know, we can be efficient in this. We can have enough washers for the families, and they can be easily accessible to them. Our main thing is to hope to have them between their neighbors so that they don't have to have a long commute to walk to the washers, and it can be easily accessible to them so that they can clean their clothes, and it's not like anything that would tell them, oh, it's too far so that they can't go. So we did put a lot of thought into that, and it would be the best to have them nearby. So next, Edith will draw valid conclusions and identify any concerns that others may have with implementing our project.
All right, so I want to draw valid conclusions. First of all, we definitely believe that our intervention addresses a valid concern or health issue, which is the louse-borne relapsing fever that Amanda spoke about. This is a vector-borne disease transmitted by body lice, and as a vector-borne transmitted disease, it has also become a prevalent disease now because there are so many refugees, so many refugee camps throughout the world now, recently, throughout these years. And like Amanda spoke, the camps that we're going to focus on are the ones in Kenya, specifically the city of Dadaab. And as Mandy spoke about our intervention and it presented to us, we definitely see and have shown how it really can be an easy to use intervention that can be taught to the refugees and taught to community health workers that will teach and help us teach these refugees and also educate them about the importance of addressing this issue, addressing how poor personal hygiene can cause diseases such as the louse fever. Another thing that I want to conclude is the importance of who our partners are going to be. So our funding is going to come from the Rockefeller Foundation. They are a foundation or organization that have been around since 1913. They're private-based, and their mission is to improve the well-being of humanity around the world. And because our intervention coincides with their mission, they have chosen to fund us. So through their funding, we're going to buy the washers, buy the materials, and be able to have the funding to work with our second partner, which will be the UNHCR organization. They will provide the manpower, the community health workers that will help us implement this intervention in the specific camps of Dadaab. So those are our partners, and we're excited to work with them. They're good people, and they're good organizations that have good resources for our intervention. Lastly, just to address some concerns, I want to reiterate what Samantha spoke about. The language barrier we will address with having community health workers. That was a concern that we came up with, this language barrier. And so with community health workers that will be bilingual, we'll address that language barrier quite well. And then the second concern, of course, is having the right amount of washers per family unit, which will be addressed with just figuring out the logistics as intervention specialists and as community health workers and as with our partners. And lastly, I just want to end our presentation by saying this intervention can be easy, it can be accessible to many refugees, it can address a very important issue of the louse disease. And yeah, that's the end of our presentation, and thank you for your time.